Boys, we are going to have a look at have a little bit of a halfway through the season wrap. Okay, we're halfway through the season. Origin's just about to kick. It's a great time to be part of the rugby league scene, and let's have a look at the teams that are making it so far. Lots of the experts would say, Hoops, that it's developing into a two-horse race, and perhaps it's hard to argue with the performances we're seeing from Penrith and Melbourne.
Yeah, I think most people concur on that, Anthony. Look, perhaps Parramatta or Souths, if they were to go on a run and peak in September, might be able to mount some sort of challenge and cause an upset on the day. But otherwise, if you're going on current form, those two sides are in blistering touch, and it looks as though it'll be a repeat of last year's grand final.
I think that absolutely. Yeah. There's been excuses for a couple of other teams. The Roosters obviously have gone through a horrific injury run and are really, I think, held together well, given the injuries they've got. But I do think that they went beyond the tipping point, the Roosters. They've just lost too many now. So I don't think that they can make a run. Look, the fact is, Penrith play a style of footy that no other team is capable of playing. I think the only team that's capable of stopping it is Melbourne.
Yeah.
So because of their defensive structures. So I see that this grand final. I can't see anyone really jumping out of the pack. Maybe South, if they get on a bit of a run, can go. But South aren't showing enough week to week to do
What about
it.
Manly, Kenny? If Tommy can stay fit.
Yeah, look, I think, look.
They're getting Sirenin back soon too.
Yeah, no, they are.
Off the charts.
Yeah, no, they're a good side. But they're still not the class of Melbourne or Penrith. But they're gonna, yeah, they've certainly got the potential to hurt you in the finals, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. If you underestimate them going into a game, Tommy Turbo can just turn on like in a 10 to 15 minute space of footy, and then you're down by 3 or 4 tries. And like you said, Hoops before, Schuster, he's just playing out of his skin in the back row. They've still got the old heads in Cherry Evans and Four and controlling the ship. Probably the only position that they probably lack to the big side is probably hooker. They've lost Manasi Fainu for the whole season. He hasn't been able to play. And then when Coruscant went to Penrith a couple of years ago, that's probably the only position that they're light on. But I think they can match it with the best sides. Jake Travojevic is probably one of the best middles in the game. Marty Taupau on his day as well. Josh Alloway's been injured, and then obviously Curtis Siren's come back from injury soon, so he creates a bit of a headache for Des on the edge there now.
I was wrapped for Jake when he made the Origin side because it was a flat start to the year for the Seagulls, and you can just see in the sheds beforehand, during games, and then afterwards how much it means to him. Like he gets so devastated by not winning.
I think he's always going to make Origin. He's never had a bad Origin game. Obviously the club form with Manly at the moment's, at the start of the season wasn't what he wanted it to be. But Queensland always pick sides. They don't care how their club form is. They know if they can do the job in Origin level, they've done it before. They always pick him, and that's something with Jakey. He's got the best tackle tech in the game. I think last year in the game in Sydney, he flew out of the line on their 10-metre line, forced a massive error, and it just changed the momentum of the game. He does things other blokes can't do. So he'd be my first up pick all the time.
I love the way he folds blokes. His tackling technique is old school, but brilliant. Yeah.
Boys, in that, you're talking about Manly there, Woodsy, and you mentioned Josh Schuster, which got me to the next question, which is, who do you think's been the best rookie of the year? Because obviously Sam Walker does stand out, and so does
field.
Yeah, Reece Walsh, but Josh Schuster as well.
Well, he's in there. Dane Laurie at the West Tigers is another one. Look, you'd have to say I'd go on what we've seen so far. There's a struck match between Walker and Reece Walsh at the Warriors.
Yeah, look, I'd probably, if it was probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, I would have said Walker was a mile ahead. Walsh has just come out of nowhere. I don't know why Brisbane let him go, but, mate.
Stuff up.
Mate, the things this bloke's been doing on the field, they've played him at 5'8", fullback. He debuted against Melbourne, down in Melbourne on Anzac Day. That's a massive, massive game. And he went out there and played he's played 100 first-grade games. These kids these days and age, they don't have no fear. It's like they don't get nervous for any game, and whether they do a mistake in the game, they don't care. They just
carry the divot.
Yeah, some blokes you've seen play, that'll go straight in their shell and they won't play any more footy. Mate, these guys, they throw that much shape, and if it doesn't come off, boom, they'll do it again and again and again, and you'll be just, mate, I'm in awe of them. We played against the Roosters. I think it was Walker's second or third game, and we peppered him early on. You know, we got out to a good lead, and then the second half, he sets up 2 tries and scores one himself. Couldn't believe it. It's filthy on him.
Given, boys, that the...
Who do you like, Kenny, out of the rookies?
Oh, it's a struck match between them. I think Sam Walker was a revelation when he came in, and Walsh. He's just look, the fact that they've moved 2 of us a Sheck to the wing to accommodate him at fullback speaks for itself. Yeah, he's magnificent.
And
So-
2 of us did that himself too.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't the coach's decision. He went to the coach and said that.
The emergence of these blokes vindicates the change to the 6 again rule, because previously coaches were often reluctant to debut teenagers, especially like Sam Walker could ride track work at Randwick or Warwick Farm. You played against him. There's
not much of
tall,
him.
but
Yeah.
he's very lean. He's still got to put some weight on. We might have to get him into the house of almost pain with you,
I'll look after him.
Anthony. But like, I love the way that coaches are now prepared to give these young blokes a crack, and I think that the changes and adjustments to the rules are a big part of it.
Given that the team that's coming last and the team that's coming second last both have newer coaches, is there a coach under pressure? I know a lot's gone wrong at the Raiders, but you guys believe that Ricky's as safe as they get. Do you think there are any coaches that stand out? And again, given the fact that there are a lot of new coaches this year.
Baz is safe. Look, people point the finger because the Bulldogs have only won 1 game, but if they're going to spear another coach, it's just going to be Groundhog Day, and they'll be anchored to the bottom of the table forever. They need to recruit some more players. They're actively in the market at the moment. They missed out on Toby Rudolph. They're still very much chasing Brandon Smith. If they can't get him, I dare say they'll go for another hooker.
They got Addo Carr coming next year.
Matt Burton. So
what a
there's a
player.
couple of good buys there. So I think there's no pressure on Baz. I think the Bulldogs management at the moment realise that the last thing they need to do is start getting jittery around getting rid of a coach.
Yeah, I don't think there's any coach under
No.
pressure.
There's too many new ones, Paul.
Yeah, well look, the thing is, people like
Speed
Trent
5
Barrett.
last
Yeah.
Trent Barrett he's got to rebuild the club. You can't do that overnight. The Bulldogs have acknowledged that. They're aware of that. So all they want to see is some sort of positive move, which I think they are seeing. The results aren't quite there at the moment, but certainly the recruitment's come along okay for a club that hasn't recruited really well at all. I can't figure out. I'm still waiting for Canterbury. This is supposed to be now. All the salary cap's supposed to be fixed now. They all blamed on Des when he was there, but still they're just letting players go that they shouldn't be losing. And I think they're a club that's really they've got to understand where they're at and how long it's going to take to get out of that situation, because they've really dropped the ball there for a bit, and one or 2 bad years can put you back 5 years. And I think that's what's happened to the Dogs. And Brisbane, I think, is still in freefall.
Yeah, well, this is what I was going to ask you now, boys. Hoops, I'll start with you again. The Broncos are in 15th position. They've won 3 games, so they're a couple of games off the bottom. In your opinion, are they worse than last year, the same as last year, or a little bit better than last year?
No, I think people are saying that this side is a worse side than the one that Anthony Seibold had been drinking the Kool-Aid. Like,
Right.
I think Kevin Walters has made improvements with his team. He's shown that he's prepared to take risks in terms of selections. Like, he's chopped and changed his halves on numerous occasions, trying to find exactly what he's looking for at the moment. He's going with Albert Kelly. I know they weren't great against the Dragons. Like, they obviously had 50 put on them by the Dragons, but I still think that Kevy, given the circumstances and the mess that he inherited, he's doing a decent job.
All right. What
I
about...
like what he's doing there. Yeah, I think they're a club that's really lost its way. The Broncos' DNA is officially dead. It's no longer there. So all this harking back to previous generations and all that, the Broncos have got to realise that they're not those Broncos. This is a different club, and they need to start from the ground up. And I think Donaghy's gone in there now as the CEO. He's trying to turn things around. Kevy, I like what he's doing, the fact that he is moving players around. People sort of get a little bit concerned about the chopping and changing, but he's basically saying your job's not safe unless you're doing the job. And I think that's a positive. Players know if they play well, they'll be there. If they don't, there's a chance they won't. And the day, we go through this change in the game where coaches like to have faith in their players, and even when they're playing poorly, they keep playing them. The days when you used to have reserve grade and you drop down to reserve grade and the bloke playing good in reserve grade would come up, they don't happen anymore. But Kevy's sort of a bit of a throwback to that era where he's saying, "Well, mate, you didn't do the job, so I'm gonna look for someone else to see if he can do it." And that's what he's been doing, particularly in the halves. And I think it's, I applaud it. I think it's actually getting a bit of results now.
Adam Reynolds will be a great pickup for him. Like when he arrives next year, if he can maintain injury free for most of the season, they've got there's enough there in that roster. They'll make a couple of other subtle changes. They're on the hunt for a fullback. They're being linked to Dufty now, which I think they are having a look at because they missed out on Nico Hines, who's signed with Cronulla. But there's still enough in that footy side. If they can add a couple other class players to the roster, they can quickly be back in contention.
I think what Kenny said is good, but you should have a fear of getting dropped. That's what part of it is. It's not your jersey. It's the Brisbane Broncos jersey. You're just wearing the number. I remember when I first came to first grade, talking about Tim Sheens before, if you didn't do what he wanted you to do, then you're going straight back to reserve grade or 20s. It's as simple as that. You should have that fear factor there. It's not pressure. It's just keeping up the standards of what the team want. Yeah. And that's what you go into a meeting at the start of the year, you got goals and you want to set all these goals. Well, they're the goals that have come from within. It's not like they come from someone else. We, as a team, you've sort of set those goals and they're the standards you need to set to. So there's no fear there. The fear should be you getting dropped from not living up to the team standards.
Yeah, it's part of professional footy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we're always it's the game we play. Obviously, not going to play the best footy every week, but if you can have your good and bad games close to each other, like as in the standard of them, so not so far apart. Then you're not going to get dropped. They understand, obviously, you're going to be down some weeks, but you need to be preparing every week like it's your last game.
That's the same thing that Triple M management often say to Anthony most weeks. If he can just get the difference between his best performances and his worst performances more on an even keel.
Well, they've given up, mate. They've given up even trying, I think. Hey, boys, you mentioned Dufty there. I want to get to Dufty, but the other player that there was talk around was the Broncos and Josh Hodgson. Now, on the back of Adam Reynolds, he'd be good, wouldn't he, Josh?
Yeah. Look, I think that'll happen, right? There's a lot of politics going on behind the scenes with that. He's on big money at Canberra, but most certainly there's a divide there. There's a big divide there between Josh Hodgson and the Raiders, and I'd be very surprised if he's there next season.